properly, good to go. All right, so thermal imaging actually helps us find cold spots. So everybody see me in the camera? Okay, you see all that blue around my head? That's obviously a colder area versus what my body temperature is. You can probably see if I have a fever right now, but it is that accurate. What this person's going to be looking for is if you take me out of the picture, the whole thing's going to fluctuate. So if we put me back in, see how it kind of changed on the screen there? The person who has this is going to be looking for those darker blue spots. They're going to look almost black, and we're going to try to get a measure read on there to see if it's an actual intelligent orb or any kind of spirit or apparition that's going to show up on this camera. So with that being said, I usually look for the quiet person, and that's going to go to you. So
I'm sure you don't want me on this.
Why not?
I'd rather do probably the camera, the digital.
Okay. We will move this on then.
Don't want to break it.
Don't want to break it.
Okay.
Who's looking at it? He's kind of eyeballing it. You look at least curious. We're going to go with that. So, sorry, I kind of read all of you as I was walking down. So, again, it's that red square that you see on there. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. It needs to stay a red square all night. If it turns back to a circle, just hit it again, and we'll start a second video. Okay. It's just much easier when it's all one video. What do we got? Okay. We tested this morning. So,
last night. Loud again?
Well, maybe. Let's test it. All right. So, spirit boxes. Are you guys? Who's not familiar with
Ghost Adventures? I love Ghost Adventures.
Okay. So this is obviously going to go to the two of you. So, this is the same one that they use on Ghost Adventures. It's the SB7. A spirit box is a radio sweeper. So basically what it does is it flips through all of the radio stations very, very quickly and will spit out words randomly. So that could be from the voice of a DJ, a song lyric, a commercial, or it could be a disembodied voice over top of it. Now, you look kind of like, really? We're going to take that? So when you hear how fast it sweeps through it, you'll understand why, if we actually hear something, we were meant to hear it. Now, this one doesn't record, so the two of you are going to have to tell us what you hear. Is that fair? All right, so I'm going to turn this on, and hopefully it is working tonight. Yes. So, again, if we hear anything through that static, it's apparent that we need to hear what it actually has to say. So, very, very simple operation. On the back of the speaker, there is a button in the center. I already have it set sweeping, so when I'm talking and telling stories, obviously turn it off, but when I say spirit box is up, go ahead and fly with it, and just hit the center button. I like 2 sets of ears on that because you just never know what's actually going to happen. Let's move on with something else really quick, just so I can balance out. Yes, I know.
Just to let you know real quick.
Yeah.
Only reason I didn't want that, we weren't
He's been getting fillings from a couple of places today and yesterday.
For some reason, I go to places, I get dizzy, nauseous, I feel things more than some people do.
Okay. To the USS for a
I've got the blood rush, the pressure, body pain, those intensified. I went to their spirit tree yesterday.
The angel.
As soon as I walked into the area, I felt head rush. I felt like I was going to pass out.
Dude, you got a fever.
The headache, the pressure.
According to this, you do. Is this accurate?
Yeah.
100?
He runs
Very accurate.
Oh, okay.
All of us are probably...
For whatever reason, I tend to pick up emotions, not thoughts. So
You're an empath.
more or less empathic feelings, not thoughts. So I pick up the feelings, emotions. If someone's sad, I'll pick up sadness. If someone's mad, I'll pick up anger. So that's why I didn't watch that.
It's perfectly fine. And I actually can talk about that before we move, because that's, and I'm still going to go through it just because it's important. It's a safety issue. Perfectly fine.
Because I don't think that would be suited to what I feel.
Well, when you said digital camera, I was kind of okay with it anyway, because I hate explaining what a digital camera is to our younger folks. This is a very simple point and shoot. So I would say take as many pictures as you want. However, I did have one evening that was over 300 pictures that I had to go through. So, and this obviously is a digital camera, is not a cell phone with all the motion censoring, so be as still as possible as you take the pictures. Yeah, so, but when I have somebody who's trying to one-hand it while they're talking to their friend, and every picture has light streaks in it, and I have to look for the one light streak that doesn't go with the other ones to make sure it's not floating through.
Yeah.
So, simple on and off, and a simple point and shoot.
That's
Perfect. using some lasers. Anybody sensitive to lasers besides me? Okay, good. So, lasers are super important with what we're about to do. Only because with the pictures, I just added that. It's not a high-tech camera by any means, but I needed something that's going to take regular pictures. But this is actually a grid box. So what this will do is, in the event something passes by, everybody kind of see my hand flashing back at them. If we get a picture of it, and I can actually take those grids, put it into 3D software, and we'll actually have a full 3D picture of the full apparition of whatever we caught. Does that make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. So you have this one. There's lots of rules with this one.
Oh gosh.
So, no major streets. You keep them down low and you work your way out. And we will help direct you on how to use it properly and when and where you can use it. So, this is the neuralizer from Men in Black. None of you are going to remember anything. By the time this is over, that's why we record it all. However, this is a grid pen. So notice that it's not squares like the red one, but it does the exact same thing. Okay? However, this one, we will not be able to capture the 3D because it uses regular dots. So, but again, even if we catch something coming through, super cool. Now, I usually hand both lasers to one person. So the reason for that is that way you can actually use them side by side, and that way you cover a little bit more ground that's out in front of you. So you actually have two gadgets. Lucky you, right? All of you Ghost Adventure fans, I'm sure you guys remember these, right? K2 EMF meters. Anybody not know what this guy is? Alright, so I'll go through it briefly. It'll measure 3 different types of electromagnetic fields. First one comes from the Earth, which is the green, okay? No big deal. Then it'll measure man-made objects. So all of your electronics will make this thing go off to a pulse, whether it be a cell phone, wires from a nearest, the wiring underneath the ground, so forth and so on. The third one that it'll measure is anything from the spiritual world, which makes it go crazy. It makes it go erratic. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for pulses. We're not looking for it to go up to orange and stay there. We really want it to be all over the map. That's what we're looking for here. So you guys have one spirit box. We're actually going to go with you on this one. So you are the first person to tell us what's happening with that, because that's the first indication that anything is actually happening nearby. So to kind of give you an idea of how close something needs to be to make that go off, the cell phone would actually have to be about this close. So any kind of the wiring underneath the streets, for example, are going to have a very strong EMF field to make it go crazy and kind of go up to a little of a pulse. Any spiritual activity that makes it go crazy is going to be that close to you.
Where do you want yellow, orange, red?
Whatever makes it go crazy. I don't want rhythms. I don't need green. If it starts going all over, that's what we need to hear. Alright, so who's left without gadgets? So you guys can share one, only you? So,
She has some pretty bad hearing.
what's that?
She has some pretty bad hearing. She's hearing me. Thanks.
So I have one more spirit box. It's going to go to you because they already have one. And this one actually records. So it's going to record only the radio station sweeping. So I'm going to set it up for you real quick. And it has a volume turnstile, just an up and down. So that way, you know, because her stuff can't always be used, that way you guys can listen together and kind of take it that way. The only thing you need to know is that there is the letters SD on there. That means it's going to the SD card. And then there's a turnstile right up here at the top. You just turn it up. And then you turn it back down, obviously, when we're talking, conversing, moving on.
No, it kept turning off, so I was turning it back on.
All right, one last bit. So, we were talking about the thermal camera, correct? Look, I don't always get excited about what comes up in the thermal camera because I need to debunk things. Again, I'm not going to make things up for you guys. So we use 2 different kinds of thermometers. I want to make sure what we have is an actual legitimate orb or some kind of spirit. So obviously we all recognize one of these days with COVID, yes. So taking temperatures. But the problem with this, guys, it's only going to measure where that red dot touches. It's not going to measure the air in between. So that's where this guy comes into play. So let's say Jim has, he's looking at the wall through the camera, and he says, there's a blue dot right in the center of the building on the wall. I'm going to debunk it and say, okay, it's the same temperature on all sides, but we need to find out where that blue blob is. Is it an actual spirit? Or is it air conditioning blowing off the building? This guy will measure the air between Jim and the wall. So that's where we kind of find where it goes. This is a psychrometer. It's meant to measure humidity. I don't care what that number is because it's really high. It's not as bad as last night. But the bottom number on this guy actually tells us what the temperature is. So you're going to actually have both of these. You're going to help us debunk me and help her with the spirit box.
Me?
Yes.
Okay.
You're the last person without any other gadgets. Again, they're not the most crazy items, but it's one of those we need help debunking things. So, I am going to use a few things on my phone. I have a backup EMF detector in case this one here goes bad. So in case the batteries get drained very, very quickly, I have a backup. The other one is a spirit box on my phone. Now the cool thing about this one is it's going to give me a list of words here in the center. 80% of what shows up on this list doesn't mean anything. This app is meant to be a game and a hoax. It's the other 20% that I find on an average night that actually relates to the story I'm telling, something happening with one of y'all, or something happening with me in London. So last night's list, they actually had 63 entries. That's kind of high. So I had to go through it and remember, like, I'm going to have it open all night so you guys can see it, and I will interrupt my own stories to tell you what it actually says. We're going to clear out last night's because they already have their list.
Will you hear it back on this? Or?
No.
Okay.
So they are going through the same type of radio stations. Everything is set to FM on all three spirit boxes. However, they're not synced.
Okay.
So I like it that way because it kind of gives the spirits a different method of trying to communicate with us. I use one other app. It is a reverse spirit box. This one you're going to hear because I'm going to record the entire thing and keep the audio on me. And this is the way I use to communicate. What do you got? 6.8, right on the dot. But the reverse spirit box takes those same FM frequencies and it turns them backwards. So it's dummied down, so it's played a little bit slower. It sounds like complete gibberish. So I'm going to play it for you, so when we do hear something come forward, we know we were meant to hear it. So let me go ahead and turn this up. And I'll kind of walk down. Wait till the truck passes. So again, it's reversed. So it's not going through the stations as quick as the other two spirit boxes that we have running. I want things that are going to actually make sense. So. Okay. Yeah, we don't want any flash. Flash is just
I know that. I just don't. Can't turn it on.
oh, yeah, it's very. It'll stay there.
So about the first temperatures.
Gotcha. All right, so guys, we start here because this place is haunted. So,
I felt the vibes. Yeah.
this actually used to be a place called King Rum Bar. They just moved out of town, but back in the 70s, it was a place called Big John's. It was named after Big John Kennedy, who played for the New York Giants in 1947. He used to sit in the back of the bar and tell the bartender about the cadets that would come over for a drink after training from the Citadel, which isn't too far from here. So one night, two guys come in, they're not of age. Big John nods off to the bartender to put them on. They get mad, they leave, they come back the next night and try to steal cash register in front of the building. Big John pulls out his .45 and he kills them. The bullet hole is still in the front of the building. And he said that anybody that sits near the front of this bar gets that queasy feeling, disoriented, not feeling well, nauseated, those kind of things. I started that story here on purpose because of things that we just talked about a little earlier. I know how paranormal activity is going to affect me. However, I don't know how it's going to affect any of you. Any of you not feeling well, anything. If your partner or somebody in your party's not feeling well, speak up for them. So I did get a name already. So what's been super hot between this area and the next area that we're going to are teammates from John Kennedy. I actually have the 47 and 1948 roster for the New York Giants, and I'm just kind of showing everybody what that looks like. But in the event somebody's not feeling well, speak up, please. A couple weeks ago, it was probably over a month ago now, I literally had somebody pass out. They were very sensitive to paranormal activity, and they literally dropped like a wet noodle. I stopped the tour. It did not go well. She's fine. I followed up with her the next day. But again, it's just one of those things. You just never know how it's going to affect certain people. So, there. You guys speak up. The other ghost that's here, the mantle that's above you, it wraps around the front of the building. We had a big earthquake here in 1886. A piece of the mantle actually fell off, hit somebody in the head, killed them. And their ghost is said to be seen right here in the middle of East Bay Street from time to time. It might be. It might be William. Who knows? So guys, with that, we're going to go to our next spot. And what I'll tell you about that is it's kind of like a playground for you guys to learn more about your gadgets. It is haunted. There's no crazy history. It's the perfect spot for you guys to really kind of go a little nuts. And me and London will bounce around with you guys and answer questions and kind of show you what to look for on the playground. That's fair? All right, get moving. Go ghost hunt. Barn where they keep the horses for the carriage rides. You can probably smell them. I'm used to it. I don't smell them anymore. It's also the same red barn where they kept the horses that delivered milk to Charleston. So if I give you some dates, we're talking like 1860 to 1910, 19-teens. There are horses in there. We will spook them if we have any lasers go inside those windows. So those of you with lasers, keep them below the windows. And as far as cars go, digital pictures, try to keep them away from vehicles. We're going to hit one more lot tonight where there might be some more cars. But this is a place where you can ask whatever you want to. Who's with us? How many people are in our party? What color are the dots on the ground from the grid pen? You know, try to get something very specific. Try to get used to listening to those spirit boxes, and even you can ask questions because you have a full audio on you as well. We might actually get an answer to what you're asking through the audio, even though you might not be able to hear it. So, spirit box folks, if you can kind of stay a little distance from each other so they're not intercepting and you're not hearing somebody else's. What's been happening over the past week since I actually got back to work was I might ask a question and it's coming through on another spirit box, the answer. So, and I'm asking odd questions. I stay away from yes or no questions. So before you ask something, give them a little bit of time to answer, but steer clear of those yes or no questions. I usually give them about a minute and a half to answer the question, and I ask it several times. What color is that barn? What color is that barn? And I do it for about a minute and a half. So, again, let's kind of bounce around a little bit. Let's get used to your gadgets. Do you have anything on your EMF yet?
Yeah, now and then it's just, when we weren't there, it was split up a little bit.
So Main Street, there you've already got something there. So, again, see how we don't have a pattern. It just kind of showed up and then it went away. That's exactly what we're looking for. Sometimes that thing starts going crazy when we're back here by the street. Other times it waits until we're almost home. Wish. Yep, I know. All right, guys, let's explore a little bit. Find a hot spot on the EMF and
I have a hot spot here.
the other ones kind of venture off and see what else. Again, that way they're not interacting and asking us some questions.
What color is the barn? What is my name? What color is the barn?
kind of get a gist on how that fluctuates.
Yeah, a little bit.
So that's actually a tool that they'll use for plumbers and electricians. Like, I didn't want to go with some rinky-dink whatever when I'm going on my own expeditions. So, I mean, it's pretty accurate. We've tested it with different things at home, the stove, the fridge. Obviously, when I wasn't feeling well, my fevers, that was the that was how we made sure I was doing okay. But yeah, it's a super cool tool. And watching the video, I review them in the morning, and I usually go into like we had a lot of activity here from everything else. I watched this particular part of that video, but you guys have the full 90 minutes to 2 hours to look through it. And if I catch something, I give you the marker. So that way you don't have to watch the whole thing. Like, hey, I saw this blue orb at this marker. Go ahead and check it out and tell me what you think.
Okay.
So, but yeah, this is, I mean, nice slow movements. It is, the pixelization on it, I noticed, is not up to par with our standard cell phones. So the slower sweeps that you have, the better. That way it doesn't have to try to catch up and pixelate and give us another false positive.
Okay.
So, yeah, let us know what you encounter.
All right.
You might hear a horse kick. Let's go.
This is going crazy. I don't know who has the Come on. I've been telling it to light up for me and make it red.
I'm looking for it. I was looking for Pennywise in the game.
You're getting mostly radio stations?
horses.
You want to communicate with anybody from the other side?
No. She's calling her pet pet. You see a orb?
I don't know. You see that?
It
There's
changes.
the horses.
It changes blue and white.
Yeah, we do a lot with the grids with the new camera. Yeah, I charged it this morning. I think it's set to like, it's the smaller button on the top. This is up there in a second.
Are you okay if you use your own?
You can. Obviously, you know, sending those photos out. Those are your pictures.
Okay, do you want this?
Are you hearing anything on your spirit box? Are you kind of getting the gist of what I'm looking for, like what you should be listening for? Even if it's the lyrics from it. So even if you said, from JD got a gun, you heard the word gun. That could mean something, like that would be a word you heard, and that's what I want to hear. Because you got to kind of think of spirit boxes. You see a movie Crazy? Okay, so Bumblebee talks to the radio. See it Crazy. They're going to find, okay, this is coming up. What we're doing.
This is like Nintendo not.
So last night, the gentleman had that spirit box.
What's the horses kicking in there? I don't know why it changes from blue to red.
Mainly notes from songs and the commercial I only very minor. I didn't understand it because normally my spirit box activates like for the interaction. All right, so everybody got kind of a gist on how their gadgets work. I think we bounced around with all of you. Did we capture anything that you didn't mention to me or London already?
Yeah, my stomach was nuts just like a minute ago. I thought it was a giant cocaine. Coming here.
Might be.
But I wasn't feeling too good for a second
Okay.
there.
We'll keep an eye on you as well. Did you hear anything on your spirit
A
box?
few things.
What did you hear?
I heard my name, and then I thought I heard a date,
Okay.
1947. And then I heard there's some weird voices, and that's it.
So I was talking about Big John over there. Do you remember what year he played with the Giants?
No.
1940.
Well, I did hear 1947 right by that.
Very interesting. Fun.
Okay.
We will get weird
Fun.
words that I will try to relate to. The word fun just came up. We did get quite a few words here. Lily just came up. I missed that. Wrist. Is anybody's wrist bothering them tonight? Always. Record. Purple. Strengthen. Ban. Beach. Cabinet. Gifted. Example. Likely. Wishing. And William is what we started off with.
That's William.
Yep. We figured that reference out as we were coming through here. That was the first word we got. So it's gonna be interesting with Mr. Bill over here. Alright. You guys ready to learn about some history now? Alright, let's do this.
What exactly is that supposed to do again?
Okay, so go across it, and you won't see it.
Oh, okay. Did you? It's funny. We heard 2 Aerosmith songs earlier. Your creep meter?
Your firefly kind of thing. You just do it.
No, I always have a nice combing every time I'm here.
Alright. Alright, so we are in the Pinckney Mansion site. So the Pinckneys, Charles and Eliza Pinckney, is who lived here. Their mansion was in the front, talking colonial times, 1754 to mid-1790s, I believe. So Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles, and they also had a nephew named Charles. So the son and the nephew were signers of our Constitution. They were raised here. Super cool, but I hate politics. So we're going to talk about Eliza. Eliza married Charles to stay here in the United States. Her dad was over in England, where she's from, and thought he was on his deathbed. He wanted her home. She said no. So she married Charles so she could stay here. Daddy got better. They made amends. Daddy started sending her things over from England. Eliza was also a botanist by hobby. So he used to send her a lot of plants. Anything dealing with garden and soil are things will appear on your spirit boxes when we're in this area. Her garden would have been lined up with that blue dumpster over there, and the slave homes to the mansion would have been back here where we're standing. So, we're away. One of those plants that he actually sent over was indigo. So, how many of you have been in town for a few days? Got indigo in, indigo alley. Like, we got a million indigo stuff all over town because it was a huge ordeal for us. After our rice plantations went down and were no longer profitable, we needed another cash crop to bail us out. That's what indigo did for us. Indigo is... Oh, that's weird. I don't normally get yes or no's out of this.
It's been there for a little while.
Has it?
Yeah, for about 3 years.
Indigo makes blue dye, which is what makes your blue jeans blue. So we got some kids in the audience that probably don't know that. So I had to explain it. Sorry.
It's right after you mentioned her favorite plant or
Indigo.
Nice. So where was it? So she not only started the indigo plants for us, but she was also the businesswoman overseas for us. So we're talking colonial times. Businesswoman. It never happened. So big deal for Eliza. So a couple things you need to know about Eliza and her family before I kind of spread you guys out a little bit. So Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. So she is known as Eliza Lucas Pinckney. Okay, that's her maiden. They had 4 children. One of them didn't make it a year. Do not ask about that child. You will stop all activity on all gadgets for everybody else. She does not like when we talk about that child. She did have one daughter. Try to... She lost a child after. So
Do you think she would attach herself to somebody that's lost a child like that?
probably. She did have one daughter. Try to find out what the daughter's name is. I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to put a suggestive thought in your head. So try to find out what that name is. What's your daughter's name? Ask her what her favorite plant is. It is not indigo. So ask her what those things are. And then of course our normal questions of, did you bring somebody with you? How many of us are there? You know, very specific, non-yes or no questions. I will venture off on my own to kind of start my own little communication piece. Normally she'll say hello to me by name. It'll come through as Nick or Nicholas. I haven't had her say hello to London yet, but she's used to me here because I'm here every night. Now, would be my grand finale if there was one. I know it's at the beginning of our night, but this is a very active spot. EMF, who has that? So if you take a look at that spotlight on the back of the 5 Church restaurant, that will actually be in sync with however that light is blinking. If you notice, that light does not have a steady pulse or a rhythm, and it doesn't always happen. So it's kind of light tonight, like it's almost a very slow beat, but normally it'll go rapidly, or sometimes it's all the way on. Like the word more. So we're just getting all kinds of stuff. So again, ask your questions. You can ask. This is the place where I normally ask them to step away because you're going to get a lot of reds. If you look at your box now, like it's going pretty nuts.
Yeah.
But spirit boxes up, grids. Let's make sure we keep them low below the walls. Pictures, nothing of cars. So try to be careful with that. People get a little sketchy about pictures being taken of the cars here. Fair enough?
Yep.
All right.
So I am looking for cold temperatures.
Yes. You can actually just kind of do a perimeter and
Yeah.
let's, even the ground, the wall, all of it. Just try to get a base temperature and look for something cold. You will get some little wind spots in corners.
Okay.
So just kind of be wary of that, and that's where we come up with Jim. And I pull them over and say, hey, can we see what's going on over here?
Okay.
Was she somehow related to like the Skylar?
Why would you ask that?
Because one of the Skylars Elizabeth.
No, I know.
Okay, because
Right. And you're right. And I'll look into it. Now that I have it on the audio, I'll take note of it. I do take notes in the morning of it. I'll look into it for you. If I find something, I'll put it in your message.
What is your favorite plants?
How many people are with me tonight? Yes. Good job.
Somebody's trying to park.
All right.
There it is. Hey, your bag's blue. So he's right about this thing being accurate. Look,
Keep hearing 5.
that car that's cranked up is red. That car is blue.
You're looking for blue, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Most things are blue though, if they're cold. Your bag's blue.
It is kind of cold.
You look regular.
Okay, good. I don't want anything attached to it.
I want to see something behind you going. I was looking in the drain earlier. It was blue.
Oh, heck no. You're lying.
No, it was.
I have
Let's see if there's a ghost in the trash can. Hey, buddy.
was your favorite plant? What was your favorite plant? What was your favorite plant? What am I standing next to? Coke bottle? What? Say Coke bottle? Nope. Oh.
It did sound like Coke bottle.
I know, I heard that. What am I standing next to?
All right, guys, let's get everybody in the center. Yeah.
So what was the daughter's name?
My daughter's name was Harriet.
Harriet?
Harriet. Yep. Am I missing somebody?
Baby girl.
She's over there.
I know there's 7. I'm counting.
And the other names? Alexa.
Alright, did you hear anything at all on your spirit box?
5.
The number 5?
Yeah. Several times.
I heard 3 multiple times.
What questions were you asking?
How many daughters did you have?
Okay, that's wrong for 3 and 5. What questions were you asking? Anything?
I was asking about plants.
Okay. Trying to get those soil and gardening tools to come up. Now, I don't want you to get discouraged because I know you were looking for a lot of specific answers, but it could come up on either way of our audio that we've been here. So, guys, when something personal happens during a tour, those are, I mean, sometimes very sad, but they're also the most meaningful tours. It happens all the time. So if something is coming up and you're kind of like freaked out because it relates to something with you, it's talking about the spirit world. You know everything that's going on. To give an example, you guys all know we had a riot down here, May 31st. 2 nights later, I did a tour, and all of the data was related to that tour. Like everything that came through the spirit box, go away, stop breaking, riot, rallies, angry. Like all of these terms were like and it was like, again, didn't matter what story I told, everything was aimed at that riot because the spirits were pretty ticked off. We tore up their city. So, alright? Alright, so the next place we're going to go to, guys, is about 3.5 blocks away. We're going to an alley. So, lasers, obviously, we're going to be on a main street, so a big no on the lasers. Please keep filming for us. Pictures are okay, but again, watch with cars.
Yeah.
Spirit boxes, if you want to continue to listen on the way there, by all means, do so. Let me know what you capture. I will have mine running. Your EMF is going to go crazy because of the parking meters and the crosswalks. So pay no mind. We're not going to get all excited about the pulses you're going to see. All right, so let's get out of this car.
2 times.
Hello.
You said hello and then hey. All these people.
Wait.
As soon as you guys stopped,
I've been to the white.
I got the word safely. As soon as you guys stopped it.
I heard stop.
What do they say?
What are they? I know, sorry. What are
I mean, can you just come in like
Hey. My train ticket.
I got the
You got my train ticket?
I heard red food. Red food. Think it's bad.
send it to her. Because I actually have to be specific. Hotel behind me is the Lodge Alley Inn. It has its own ghosts, as does every hotel in downtown Charleston. Again, I have more history on this place because they've been doing archaeological digs. I did get the word spoon earlier, and it was actually on the way here. So that's relevant because they used to do archaeological digs in between the bricks. They don't want to ruin the bricks because they're original bricks. As you can tell, they are clay. But they found silverware, and that's how they were able to determine what class of people that lived here were here. They were obviously lower class and had jobs like a seamstress, a grocer, a mariner. Also keep in mind, this was very close to the water. Literally, from where we stand, about a block and a half of the water, but it would have been much closer back then. So, guys, we're going to continue through the end of this alley. We're going to make a right. However, we will be in a neighborhood at that point. We do live there, and tour guides can tour guides the neighborhood. Charleston. So, at that point, we're going to be 9 friends ghost hunting until we get to our next stop. Again, the spirit boxes keep to a lower level. Yours is really loud. So kind of keep it down until we get to the next location, if you don't mind. That one with the speaker does not have that.
Okay.
It's literally an on and off.
Okay.
But yours, however, does have a volume. So I'll have some flashlights because it's very dark over there. And then Bill, if you could take a picture, maybe behind us of the full alley, nice and still. I have caught some weird things, like after we pass through, kind of lag behind, so that way you can get the picture, and that way you guys will have a look. This is, again, a very historical place in Charleston. So, alright, let's take a look. We're moist.
Moist.
But it is humid tonight, so I'm going to take that.
I feel anxious and aggressive and protective.
Yeah.
If you ever played sports, football, rugby, where you just want to switch over.
She wouldn't. Elijah wouldn't respond to her, but she would respond to me. I would say hey, and I heard her below it before I said her. She said hey, and then you got safely right when we stopped at the road because I'm the one who said stop to them.
Well, actually, I think you heard
I heard
stop.
stop.
And you heard stop too.
And thank you for gathering footage that I don't see every night, because I see the same movie every morning when I go through the footage, and you're stopping and taking like side angles and stuff I've never gotten before, so I appreciate that.
Well, now you might see a lot of this too, but
That's okay. That's okay. All right. Let's keep moving. Everybody see?
On top of that, well, yeah, no, to put it on top of that.
here late at night before.
Remember our stumble through?
Yeah.
So, actually, on the top of your evidence page, there's going to be a list of every gadget that we used here, and a list of all of the apps that I'm using, and there's free versions of all of them. So that way you guys can download them as you're going about the city and test them out. There's, when we go to restaurants, we literally open this one up and put it on the center of the table while we eat, just so we can see if there's anything going on.
Yeah.
Especially if it has claims of being haunted. So, got everybody back. 2, 4, 6, 7. Yes. So you guys were standing in Philadelphia Alley. This was named Philadelphia after, obviously, Philly that saved us from one of our many, many fires. Don't ask me which one. It just did. It used to be called Dueler's Alley. So when that became illegal, that's when we named it Philly Alley. So Dueler's Alley is where the one story comes from that every good story will tell you. They make your big dramatic scene. I'm going to give you the full scene in about 4 minutes. So very, very, you have to remember, this is a dueling alley. People would actually take 20 paces, turn and shoot. There's been hundreds, if not thousands, of duels that have happened here. However, we only tell the one story, and that is of the Whistling Doctor. The reason why I like telling the story is because we have gadgets to prove or disprove what's actually happening now. Sure. Also, it's okay, shockproof. You're good. You okay?
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. So, the Whistling Doctor moved down here from Jersey. He was going to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Her parents just passed away. She inherited a ton of money, and their lawyer said, "You're not getting married." Told the doctor, go finish your studies, start your practice somewhere else, and then we'll talk. So he moves down here to Charleston. The coachman that is going to drop him off set him up to be robbing. Not a very good start to his stay in Charleston. Somebody walking by, named Ralph Isaacs, actually stopped the coachman and took the doctor somewhere else and said, "This is not a good place for you to stay." He took him to 59 Church Street, which is about 1.5 miles. So keep that in mind, because that's important at the end of this. So the two become friends. Ralph is a regular Charlestonian. The doctor's moving up in the hierarchy because he's got his practice, he's doing well, obviously, financially stable. So, but they still remain friends and they still see plays together, but because of where they were in status, they had to sit in different seats. So they used to talk about the plays on the way home. However, one night when they're talking about the play on the way home, talking about a new actress that was at the theater, the doctor loved her, Ralph did not. It turned into an insult party on the doctor's fiancée back home. And the two got mad at each other and went their separate ways. Ralph, being a regular Charlestonian, had connections at the newspaper, wrote about the doctor and what a disgrace he is to the city of Charleston since he wasn't from here, and that he was taking all of their money. Street. So, what does the doctor do? He rebuttals by saying, "Let's go to Dueler's Alley and just settle this once and for all." So they come down, they take their 20 paces, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He doesn't want to kill his friend. He wanted to make a point. However, Ralph Isaacs takes 2 shots below the knees. The doctor drops. Keep in mind, the gate behind me, the reason why I'm stopped here, is the loser of the duel would normally go through this gate into St. Philip's Cemetery, and then It's also said that you can hear gunshots. I have one whistle that was not debunked. You will hear Charlestonians now, because we all know the story, try to whistle from afar, and we have to be able to debunk those and say, I heard a whistle, but it was way over there. Because hear something, by all means speak up. But most of the time it's on your audio. So when you're listening to your audio, this is the time to turn it up. This is when you really want to listen for that whistle.
I got 79. I got 77 up there.
Up where?
Like right in the little weedy area.
So one last thing about this alley. Again, the end of it is residential. So again, we're going to walk through very, very quickly. But the bricks are going to get older as we move along. Those bricks at the end were actually, why can I never remember that word? Sun-dried by slave children, which means they were turned every hour to dry them. So they didn't have ovens to put them in. There are still fingerprints and one full handprint at the end of this alley. I will point it out to the person behind me, and then we'll kind of do a train motion. So if you guys all want to check out where that handprint is, I will point it out, but we got to move quickly because that's somebody's house to the right. There's actually 2 homes at the end of this, and their address is Philadelphia Alley. And you'll see one of their little plaques as you walk by. Very cool place. But keep taking those different camera angles. This is an interesting place to get some of those. And this is probably the most peaceful place in all of Charleston. So if you can get pictures without people in them, so once we get pretty far down, if you want to turn around, take a nice little shot, that'd be great. What's that? They do all the time. It's actually pretty busy. And it's gorgeous out there, day or night. And honestly, we are 1 block away from East Bay Street, that big busy street we just came off of. This is what it sounds like during the daytime too. That's why it said you can hear them whistling as you go through. Nobody knows why it's so quiet over here. There's really not much blocking it. So, especially all that sound. So, we're gonna walk through, see what you guys hear. Spirit boxes, once you get closer to the groups, kind of keep them down so they can tell their stories. As you can see, this is a big tourist hotspot. Yeah, but I took it as a name. But it could be a flower.
Philosopher, a revolutionary mind. One little idiom from him would be, anybody that can make you believe.
Hey, what? You guys good?
You guys want to walk through? Here's they're black. Last night it was all lined up.
Yeah, and now tonight they're way over the top. The moon's late because it's getting full. So it's right back this way. But the joyful pleasure was like not the sadistic type, but like the happiness of
Like almost sportsmanship?
almost sportsmanship, but
Okay.
the consummate pride, straight pride
Yeah.
and joy
I
is
can
what
see
I
that.
felt in that alley. I mean, as soon as we hit down it, it was like I felt like a peacock started type of pride. So actually, I figured your bow. I don't know. That's just what I felt. I mean, that was pretty strong. That's just what I felt. Well, I was like trying to figure out what you said, but I felt just fine. Like thinking.
Well, I kind of take that with the winner. That's how they would do it. We got one last building we're going to take a look at. The brick building catty corner from us. That is the bottom of the building. So currently it is condos in the back. And there's going to be a wedding reception area on the front instead of waterfront. So it's going to be very expensive to service. So what's important about that building is that it used to be part of our cotton industry. So the back of it obviously was the warehouse and where they worked and bailed everything up, and the front of it would have been the offices of that building. So the last person who owned it as part of the cotton industry was George Pereira back in the 1840s, and he inherited the business from his dad. He had no idea what he was doing. He was a silver spoon kid. He got handed the business, and he got himself into a bunch of debt. And he also had the boll weevil in town. He loved it and cotton. So now he's really he just needs to get out of the cotton industry. So he goes behind the American government and sells over to the British. The British pull up, we're pineapple harvesters now, and they unload from the back doors here, and he's watching everything from the front. Somebody gets too close to the cotton, the light, the whole shit goes up in flames, and he's watching it like the same story. So,
Are y'all on a tour?
we are.
We're supposed to meet somebody. I think we're. What address did he give you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's not us.
You're welcome.
So he piles up all the furniture and he hangs himself. It's said that you can see the shadow of a swinging corpse from the front of the building. I don't get to catch it, but I do get some weird heat signatures at the top of that front of that building. So we're going to test a few theories in the front. The EMF detector, once we get to the front, we're going to be on East Bay again, so it's going to go erratic. It's going to be irrelevant. But you can definitely, as we're walking up the side of the building, see if we actually capture anything with it.
Destroy away.
Right.
that-
But we're going to test the theory with the infrared thermometer and the thermal imaging camera. We sometimes get a 30-degree difference from the very top of the building to like a 5-foot right below it. So sometimes it's all the way up to 30 degrees difference, and there's no explanation for it. It should literally be a 5 to 7 degree difference because we're only 5 feet apart. But 30 degrees, there's really no explanation of why we get that much of a difference. So we're going to test it with both the camera and your infrared thermometer. However, there is another ghost that will come through from time to time. Zoe from Coogan's Porch loves to chime in. She actually fell down the stairs of her former home. You just got this look of shock on your face. You okay?
Yeah.
Her name was Zoe St. Amand, and what's funny about that is the Zoe she has is spelled without the Y. And it's exactly how it comes up on my spirit box, and I got answers out of her like restaurant, because it is a restaurant now, food, those kind of things. So it's just a matter of who am I talking to that particular night. You're going to hear on your audio as I walk up in front of the building, who am I talking to? Over your porch to see what kind of answer I can get. So we're going to cross legally twice, and then check out the front of the building. We got the pink.
I can turn this on?
Yes.
George
Marijuana. You just want to do now. This is it. This is it. This is where we had our wedding reception. They told us that story whenever we booked it.
Tell him. You should tell him.
This is where we had our wedding reception. They told us that story whenever we booked the room.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they tell you about the brewery too?
They told us about the blood stain on the floor.
Okay.
Where he hung himself, maybe?
Well,
Was
the
it Brookston?
brewery, which was just recent, like early 2000s, the taps would turn on by themselves, cold spots along the wall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. So,
I remember about the hanging. He saw the burning and something about looking out at the bay.
yep, because these buildings wouldn't have been here.
Yeah.
And the ship would have been much closer because
Okay.
this is all man-made at the end here. So the water would have been right there where people were able to see everything go up in flames. So I get the words like fire, ship, crew gone, you know, all kinds of things when I'm over here. It just depends on who I'm talking to. But we actually got the word restaurant over here, and I got the word fell earlier, right before we made that stop. Yeah, I see the word beauty. So again, I think we got a little bit on this, but we got to test this theory. So see that crest at the very top? So point your laser all the way to the top. Keep going right there. What's your temp? Okay, go down to the next same color right there. 82. So we're at 17 degree difference. So again, sometimes it goes up to 30. That should literally only be like a 4 to 7 degree difference. It's not that far of a span. Now, my debunking at first, one of my customers found this. So I was like, that doesn't make sense. It's probably just the breeze coming off the water. But he literally tested every building he shouldn't have, and we couldn't find the same occurrence anywhere else. So, keep stealing my drink.
You told me I could.
Jerk. So, did you get any pictures of this building?
On that side,
Okay.
somewhat. But
Fair enough. All right, so
I'd say it's right now. It's like don't care. I don't know. It's just a feeling I have. Is don't care. It's
Well,
everything's shizer, shit, and screw off everything.
that's
and
kind of the way he felt.
that's the way I feel
I
right
mean,
now.
think about it. That's what happened.
That's just like how I feel.
Interesting.
Like go and have a few shots and say screw it and have some shots and go on.
So I'm going to give you guys my card to kind of check everything out. And the people that booked, I will text you all in the morning.
We booked through a group on there, so the second
That's
guy
the
had
group on that went to his side.
Yeah. It puts the ticket in on my side.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. She did all that.
wherever you guys booked your tickets from, a review is super helpful.